Hi all, I welcome you all to the next lecture today. Today we are going to start the introduction about the aerospace materials. Prior to that, this lecture you have been introduced about different kind of components of fuselage and wing design, where we have discussed about particularly two kind of design, monocoque and semi-monocoque, and you have seen various subcomponents of wing and fuselage and their working and how actually load is getting transferred from one component to the another component. Today we'll go through the various types of materials available for constructing the aircraft and aircraft subsystems. All right. So here Professor Ravi Kumar, School of Mechanical Engineering, Shastra, Team 2B University. I welcome you all, right, with the journey of aerospace materials. Let me start my presentation here on. So, so if we look at particularly aerospace materials, they can be categorized into two forms. We used to say metallic and non-metallic. All right. So metallics are all where the primary element is metal, right? Non-metallics are basically they do not exist in nature. They are basically man-made material like synthetic based materials, ceramic based materials. Those are all come under the category of non-metallic. So today the agenda of discussion is we will go through first the material selection criteria. Based on what criteria we select the materials, then we'll go to the material types, then we will see in what forms those materials uh, are existing, right? Then we'll see some practical examples of application of those materials in aerospace industry particularly. So if we talk about the material selection criteria, so based on the type of component and for which kind of forces, right, it is going to be used, or which kind of environmental condition that material is going to expose, we decide the type of material to be used based on certain properties of materials. So first and the foremost important property is static strength, right? Material must support ultimate load without failure. That is the first necessary condition. And material should also support the limit loads without permanent deformation. So there is a basic difference between the ultimate load and limit load. Ultimate load is the maximum possible load up to which the material will undergo the linear deformations. The moment you will remove the load, it may regain its original shape, or you can say the load up to which you will have uh, linear variation of deflection in the material. And limit load particularly talks about immediately after that material will go under permanent deformation, it will not regain its original shape, right? So these are the necessary condition. Material must support ultimate load without failure, and material must support limit load without permanent deformation. So how to basically ascertain that certain material is having this much require static strength? That basically will depend on initial evaluation of each components. Usually aluminum is the initial material selection because aluminum was invented way back in 1827, right, in metal form. At that time it was very difficult to, very expensive to refine it, but initial 40 years were dominated by the aluminum. Most of the aircrafts were made of aluminum as one of the primary material, right, for all the components. Now as we have advanced a lot, and now we are talking about composite material, but till today aluminum is the main component, main material to be used in the aircraft. So first condition, as we are doing the initial evaluation whether the particular material is going to withstand the static load or not. So if aluminum cannot support the applied load within the size limitation of component, then we'll look for the high strength materials, right? Like titanium or steel, we can go. If aluminum is too heavy to meet the performance requirement, then we will talk about graphite, epoxy, or a next generation material, right? So the primary material, as already I said, the primary material was the basically aluminum, because it is having all the required the strength and lightweight and high strength to weight ratio. That is one of the major thing with the aluminum. Next one criteria is stiffness, right? So deformation of material at limit load must not interfere with the safe operation. That means a material should be should have sufficient stiffness to counter the permanent deformation, right, at limit load. So there are cases where meeting the static strength requirement results in component that has unacceptable deflections. So when you are going for that, that means material is becoming more and more ductile and can go for larger deflection, right, to counter the applied load. So if that is the case, the component is said to be a stiffness design, right. uh, Third and important parameter is fatigue or crack initiation, right? Because most of the component in the aircraft are subjected to the cyclic loading over the period of time. All right. So the ability of a material to resist cracking under cyclic loading, that is must condition, right, when you are selecting the material for aerospace applications. All right. So how to basically decide whether it can sustain the fatigue loading or not? We have to do the initial evaluation. Like we can do the spectrum dependent analysis, or we can do stress concentration factor. We have to look for whether stress is getting concentrated, that need to be avoided. So all sharp corners need to be avoided. We used to provide the round corners particularly to avoid stress concentration in the particular areas. So component is limited to a certain stress level based on the required life of the airframe. Further processing may improve fatigue properties such as short peening or cold working should be used to basically avoid fatigue failure over the period of time. But fatigue cannot be completely eliminated. Fatigue damage cannot be completely eliminated, but it can be arrested by certain methods, right, to avoid the crack propagation along the surface of the material. So, material should be able to withstand the cracking under cyclic loading. That is one of the most important criteria for selecting the material. Next one is damage tolerance or crack growth, right? So the ability of material to resist crack propagation under cyclic loading basically is called damage tolerance, right? So whether the given material can arrest the initiation of crack or not, that also need to be examined before selecting the material. So material in the material, the crack growth should be slow, right? First thing. So use of alloys with increased fracture toughness particularly can basically serve to increase the damage tolerance, right, particularly. So that's why alloyings were beneficial, right, to avoid any kind of crack growth in the event the crack appears on the surface. Next one is weight. Weight is another one important criteria, particularly for aerospace vehicles. It should be lightweight. There is a must requirement, but at lightweight it should have sufficient strength as well. So low weight is the critical criteria, right, in the aircraft performance goals. So materials are tailored for a specific requirement to minimize the weight. The material with a higher strength to weight ratio typically have higher acquisition cost. The cost will be very high, right, because those are advanced materials. But lower life cycle cost, particularly lower fuel consumption, that is one of the most important criteria. If you are going to use advanced materials, it will be light in weight, so then you can do the fuel saving, right? Because lightweight, lesser fuel will be required to accelerate the aircraft. But particularly when we are designing for the aircraft, we do not bother about the cost particularly. So there we can use the high strength, means special or advanced materials which are lightweight and high strength particularly. Next one is corrosion. Material should be have high corrosion resistance because aircraft components are subjected to various kind of environmental condition right during its life. So basically, your material should be capable of countering all those corrosion problems. So surface corrosion particularly will happen due to galvanic corrosion or dissimilar metals or surface treatments can improve the corrosion resistance, right? Proper drainage. Another thing is also beneficial. So stress corrosion cracking, particularly certain alloys are more susceptible to stress corrosion cracking, especially severe in short transfer grain direction. So in longitudinal direction, they will have more strength, but transfer direction they are weaker. Particularly in that direction, corrosion cracking may occur. That should be avoided. Right. That is also very important criteria. Next one is producibility, right? It should be commercially available, right? And within a shorter period of time, means within a given time frame, we must be able to get the sufficient quantity of materials, right? Uh, Third important property is in producibility is fabrication alternatives. Whether it may be a built up, it may be a machine to form a plate, or it can be able to machine to using the forging, or it should be compatible with casting as well. So these are the various forms in which we can easily fabricate the metal, and the given metal should be able to uh, fabricated in all these mentioned criterias. So producibility is one of the most important criteria where selecting the material. We need to select a material which is readily available, and within a shorter period of time we can arrange certain quantity of materials for manufacturing the aircraft components. Cost, yes. Nowadays, as market is becoming more and more competitive, we have to be taken into account cost as well, right? If we are going for manufacturing the aircraft using the advanced material full aircraft, then cost of aircraft will be very high. Whether there is a consumer available in the market to buy that aircraft or not, that also need to be considered. So if we look at the raw material cost comparison, particularly aluminum plate, basically per pound cost is US dollar 2 to 3, and steel plate particularly it is between 5 and 10 per pound. Titanium is high advanced material, particularly we use titanium for high heat resistance areas, particularly combustion chambers or turbine blades. Right, particularly we use titanium plates. For that cost is 15 to 25 US dollar per pound. If we go for fiberglass or epoxy pre-packs, particularly when we talk about the composites, right? Composites, their cost is 15 to 25 per pound. Or if we are going for particularly graphite, graphite is known to be having more strength, particularly. So graphite epoxy pre-pack, if you look at, will have 50 to 100 US dollar per pound. That is the cost, standard cost worldwide, right? Apart from raw material cost, then cost will be bared on fabrication, particularly then assembly cost, the life cycle cost, cost of weight, right? Then cost of maintenance. So if we account for all these costs together, it should be lying within the competitive range of the aircraft markets. It should not go beyond that. If you're going beyond that, then there will no consumer to buy your aircraft. You will be in a loss. So these all factors also need to be considered, right, when we are selecting the material for the aircraft or aerospace applications. Then next is performance with cost dilemma. Particularly, if we are going for high performance, right? For the lowest goal is the goal, lowest cost basically is the goal of every airplane material selection. We used to, every materialist, particularly, is having this aim to, go for high performance material at lower cost. But problem is that when you are going for high performance materials, cost automatically will rise. So what to do? We have to do some compromise in between, right? So if cost is going high, that means it should be compensated with some other form of advantage like fuel saving or lesser drag. In that way, you can propose those kind of things. So compromise is required. Define the cost of weight or to the aircraft. Particularly, if you are going for high performance aircraft, cost will definitely will be high because fuel saving and performance is superior compared to the counterparts. So these are the various criteria, right? This that need to be considered, right, when we are selecting the material for aircraft manufacturing or aerospace subcomponent manufacturing. Now next is what type of materials are available, material types. Particularly if we look at the engineering materials, right? Engineering materials can be subdivided in two main categories. First is metals, another is called non-metallic materials. If we just focus on metals, metals can further divide into two categories: ferrous and non-ferrous metals, right? If we focus on non-metallic, as I said, non-metallic material do not exist in basically in nature. Those need to be man-made, right? We can tailor them as per our requirements. So those can be divided into two: synthetic materials and natural materials. Right? Synthetic material example is glass, right? Glass. So glass is having two categories: E glass and S glass can be considered as synthetic materials. Right? Or polymer based material can be considered synthetic materials. Right? Natural materials basically can be derived from natural resources, right? Either from the plant based or animal based or oil based, particularly. These are the materials. So plant and most of the industrial structural applications, right? Till today we are using plant based fibers or materials in day to day life, as well as in nowadays Boeing particularly has started application of plant based natural fibers composites, right, for interior of aircrafts. So this is the future basically, because nowadays all international agencies are forcing engineers and materialists to go for green materials. So when we are talking about green materials, then we have to look for the solution for that in the nature. So whatever material which is available in nature are renewable, right? And renewable, and they will be definitely biodegradable. So renewable, biodegradable, recyclability. These are the three prime matters, prime factors, right? Particularly going for green materials. Right. Uh, as we at present, because of the advent of carbon fiber composites, they are having very very high strength. We are most of the aircrafts are using carbon fiber composites. But problem with carbon fiber composites is that recyclability is nil, and we don't know the solution for that till now, till today. So till today, we don't know what we will do after that current carbon fiber composites are getting retired from the service, and where we will dump that. So landfills scarcity is also there, and how to recycle that we don't know. But natural fiber composites, as they are derived from the natural resources, we can easily recycle them. So this is the future of the coming structural industry, particularly natural fiber composites. So if we look at the metals, metals category, I said there are two categories, right? Ferrous and non-ferrous. So what about the ferrous? These are the metals and alloys containing a high proportion of the element called iron. So if iron is present, we will say that is a ferrous. If iron is not present, it is called non-ferrous. So they are the strongest materials available, and are used for applications where high strength is required at relatively low cost, and where weight is not of primary importance. Particularly land-based application, right? We use the ferrous metals, right? When weight is very very important criteria, like in aerospace application, we cannot take the risk of using the ferrous metals for larger components. So as an example of ferrous metals, such as bridge buildings, right? The structure of large buildings, railway lines, locomotives, and rolling stock, and the bodies of highly stressed engine parts of road vehicles, right? Road vehicles, particularly these ferrous metals will find the application. So the ferrous metals themselves can also be classified into families, and those families are shown in figure here, right? So if we look at the families of ferrous metals, so they can be divided into three categories, right? Steel, cast iron, and wrought iron, right? So steel further can be divided into four different categories, right? Low carbon steel, medium, and high carbon steel. Then can go for the alloy steel. So these are the four different subcategories of steel. If we look at the cast iron further can subdivide into five categories, right? Gray cast iron, white cast iron, malleable cast iron, high duty cast iron, and alloy cast iron. All right, and wrought iron. So these are the different families of ferrous metals that we are using in day to day life, right? In the road based application or bridge or railway trucks, railway lines, right? Railway coaches, extra. There we are using ferrous metals. If we go for non-ferrous metal, these are the materials refers to the remaining metals known to the mankind. The pure metals are rarely used as a structural material as they lack mechanical strength. So how to use them? We have to do the alloying of that. We have to mix certain, other second materials to give the required necessary strength. So they are used where there are special properties such as corrosion resistance, electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity are required. Copper and aluminum are used as electrical conductors, and together with sheet zinc and sheet lead are used as roofing materials particularly. They are mainly used with either metals to improve their strength. So some widely used non-ferrous metals and alloys are classified in the given flow chart. So if we look at the non-ferrous metals, right, they can divide into two. Either it will be pure metal or it may be alloying, right. If we are talking about the pure metals, they can be aluminum, cadmium, chromium, cobalt, copper, gold, lead, magnesium, manganese, molybdenum, nickel, platinum, silver, tin, titanium, tungsten, vanadium, and zinc. So these are the pure metals, right? In pure form, also we are using in some cases, or it may be alloying, right? Mixing of two different metals. So in most of the cases, right, we are going for alloys because alloys will have sufficient strength compared to the pure metal form. So alloys, it may be a brass, which is a combination of copper and zinc. It may be a tin, bronze, right, which can further divide into phosphorus, bronze, and gunmetal. Gunmetal particularly find in application is structural component of early aircraft, particularly during 1930s. Then aluminum, bronze, copper and aluminum, right? Copper nickel alloy, copper and nickel. Aluminum alloy, particularly aluminum alloys, we are using since 1920s till today in the aircraft structural component. If you look at the accountability or total account of aluminum alloy, almost 80% of the structural component of aircrafts are made of aluminum alloys. So aluminum alloys further can be divided into four categories: heat treatable, that is called wrought, or heat treatable, that is cast, or maybe a non-heat treatable cast or wrought. So these are the various categories of aluminum alloys. Then magnesium alloys. So these are the various families of non-ferrous metals that are being used in the textile industry. So some example includes, right, particularly for non-ferrous is aluminum, right, which is here, right. This aluminum, it may be a copper, right, it may be a pure brass. Brass is a combination, right, basically of two, and high speed steel. Particularly we are using for cutting tools. Particularly high speed steel is used. Stainless steel, if we are using ice-cold application, right, mostly stainless steels are being used. So we can divide them into differentiate in two forms: ferrous and non-ferrous. So ferrous is steel, stainless steel, high speed steel, cast irons. This is example of ferrous. Non-ferrous: aluminum, copper, brass, and titanium. These are the non-ferrous metals. Now come to the aluminum, particularly pure aluminum. So aluminum accounts for 80% of the structural materials of most commercial and military transport aircraft even today. So it was now it is inexpensive and easy to form and machine, but earlier days when it was invented in 1827, it was very expensive to refine. All right, to refine. So if we look at why basically we choose that, we can do the alloying of it. So right, so alloys are tailored to specific needs. So 2000 series alloys, particularly aluminum, copper, and magnesium, are medium to high strength with good fatigue strength, but basically they are having low stress corrosion cracking resistance. 2000 series was the first invented series of alloying. Then the example is given 2024T3, right? It is having very good fatigue properties. Then later on, 5 series and 6000 series alloys are low to medium strength but easily bended, right? Then later on, advanced series is 7000 series came into the picture, that is aluminum, zinc, magnesium, copper are high strength with improved stress corrosion resistance, but most have no better fatigue properties than 2000 series. So 2000 series is having better fatigue properties compared to the 7000. So example of 7000, 7050 and 7075 alloys are widely used. Particularly if we look at the 7475 alloy provide higher fatigue strength, means resistance similar to the 2000 series 2024 T3. So this is an alternative alloy which can be used in place of 2024 T3. But majority, much famous series was the 2000 series. Now advanced series of aluminum alloys is 7000 series, which we are using in the aircraft where we need high specific strength, right? High strength. So these are the some comparison charts, right? If we look at the material of 2000 series, which is here T3, T351 and T42, these are known for having high tension applications, right? Best fracture toughness, right? That is called fatigue strength, and thick form have low short transfer properties, including stress corrosion cracking. So corrosion cracking is weak, particularly in the 2000 series. They are having very low corrosion resistance. Then 2324 T3 cam 8% improvement in the strength over the traditional 2024 T3 with increased fatigue and toughness properties. And later on 7000 series cam 7075 T6, T651 and T7351. These are having high strength, basically in compression application. High strength compared to the 2000 series, right, which is given here 2024 T3. Compared to that is having high strength, but it's having low fracture toughness. But fracture toughness of 2000 series was good. But advantage of 7000 is having better corrosion resistance, particularly corrosion cracking resistance. Then the advance of some more advancement came, that is 7050 T7451. It is having better properties than 7075 T6. Particularly, it was lagging in fatigue strength, that fatigue of fracture toughness that caused increase in the case of 7050 T7451. Next one is titanium. Titanium is known to having very high strength, particularly. So better strength to weight ratio than aluminum or steel comparatively. A typical comprises 5% by weight in commercial aircraft, right, and up to 25% by weight for high performance military aircraft. So, if we look at the application of titanium, be used for high heat areas, particularly in combustion chamber, or we can use in the turbine blades, because turbine blades used to be subjected to very high temperatures, right? So it is having very good corrosion resistance as well, good corrosion resistance, good temperature resistance, good fatigue and damage tolerance properties in the annealed form. So typical alloy is Ti6Al4V, right? Either annealed or solution treated and aged. So as it is having high strength, cost is high, right, compared to the metals. All right. So we look at the examples of titanium alloys, particularly. These are the various alloys which we are using the aircraft. But famous is Ti6A14V, that is workshop general purpose high strength alloy. Ti6Al silicon, zirconium, molybdenum. If you add this, it is using, it is known for creep and oxidation resistance, particularly engine alloy. Then sixth series of zirconium is this is also engine alloy, right? Beta alloy is here, beta C, right? This is known for spring applications. Next one is titanium, vanadium, ferrous, aluminum, right? Combination. This is also beta forging alloy used for 777 landing gears, right? It may find particularly application in sheet, right? Sheet alloy, right? It can also be used for hydraulic tubing, particularly medium strength Ti3Al2.5V, right? Like that, various forms of alloys of titanium are present. They are used in the aircraft applications. Next one is the steel, right? Steel may be selected when tensile strength greater than titanium are necessary, particularly. But problem with the steel is that its density is very high, so weight will be more, particularly. So steel is usually limited to a few highly loaded components such as landing gears, wing root attachments, and fasteners, right? So there are many steel alloys to choose from, right? So select one that is tailored for your application. So steel in its stainless form has found application primarily in the construction of super and hypersonic experimental and research aircraft. So examples are Bristol 188 and US X-15, where temperature effects are considerable. So that has been used in experimental aircraft. So, but as weight is very high, so we are not taking risk of using most of the components made of steel. So these are the examples of steel alloys, particularly used in the aerospace applications, right? So carbon steel, AISI 1025, low alloy steel, right? Specific alloys, intermediate alloys, sheet, and then these are the different steel alloys which we are using in the applications. Next one is non-metallic materials, right? If we are talking about non-metallic materials, right, these are the material that do not exist in nature, unless they are manufactured from natural substances such as oil, coal, or clay, or plant-based, resources. So they are combined good corrosion resistance with ease of manufacture by molding to shape and relatively low cost. So synthetic adhesives are also being used for joining of metallic components even in a highly stressed applications. All right. So if we look at the classification of synthetic materials, they can be classified into three main categories: plastics, ceramics, and composites. Right. If we just focus on plastics may be thermoplastic or thermosetting. Thermoplastic means once they have been cured, right? We can heat it up and we can melt it. That's easily we can melt and take it away. And thermosetting means once they got set, right, and then after that it's very easy to remove the plastics right out of the component. But regarding the handling, thermosettings are good because they will be found in the liquid form, while thermoplastic will be found in solid form, right, when we are applying. So example of thermoplastics are acrylic, PTFE, polythene, polyvinyl chloride, nylon, polystyrene. Right. Example of thermosettings are epoxides, right, alkydes, phenol formaldehyde, right, melamine formaldehyde, urea formaldehyde. These are some of the examples of thermosetting plastics. If we just focus on ceramics are known to have high temperature resistance. Particularly we use ceramics for thermal shielding, right, in the re-entry vehicles or thermal protection systems, right. We use the ceramics. So ceramics can be divided into three categories: glass, porcelain, and cemented carbides. Right. Then if we look at the composites are tailor made. We can tailor them as per the requirements. So if we just focus on the fibers which are being used, right, in composites for carbon fibers, concrete, glass reinforced plastic, and now at present we are much more talking about the natural fiber reinforced composites, resource taken from the natural resources. So if we just focus on the composites, what is the composites? Composites is a material, right, which is formed from two or more chemically distinct material whose characteristics, physical characteristics, are superior to its constituents, actively acting independently. So when you are combining two or more distinct materials together, right, in a binder, the resultant material will have a high strength compared to the each constituent. So material is orthotropic, much stronger in one direction, particularly in fiber oriented direction. Perpendicular to the fiber oriented direction, it will be weaker one. So fibers, when just you focus about the fibers, fibers may be graphite based, that is high strength and stiffness. Fiberglass, fairly strength, low cost, secondary structure. Kevlar is known for having high damage tolerant. These are basically all synthetic fibers. If we look at the natural fibers, we can talk about fibers derived from the plant, right? Either a stem, leaf, or it may be derived from animals, right? Like hair, wool, silk, etc. can also be used as a natural fibers. Matrix, as I said, two kind of matrices are there. It may be a thermosetting or thermoplastic based, right? Epoxy, mostly in aerospace application, we use the epoxy primary matrix material to 250 degrees C because it can be cured at low temperatures, particularly. And bismaleimide, high temperature application, right? Particularly for thermal protection systems, we use the bismaleimide matrix, which used to be melted to 350 degree Fahrenheit. So they may be produced in the form of fabrics, right? Or if you want to make a plate, you have to lay down, laying the tapes, bindings, right? And you can make these kind of mates by using stitching, weaving, right? By the purpose you can use. So if you look at this pictorial presentation here. These are all composite plates, right, which have been fabricated either using Handelium method, or you can go for vacuum bagging. There are various methods, injection molding or compression molding. Methods are available for manufacturing the composites. All right. So properties can be oriented to load direction particularly. There will be unidirectional fibers will be used, and the strength across the direction of fibers will be more compared to the perpendicular directions. So if we look at particular characteristic of composite, will have excellent strength to weight ratio, high cost of material particularly in process compared to the traditional materials, and poor bearing strength. The bearing strength is poor compared to the metal, but they are having very high strength. And the aerospace application particularly, we always look for high strength materials at low weight. So these are the examples where we can use the composite material. This is the picture taken from the book Moore's Design Consideration Composite Flight Wing Programs. We look at, these are the wing panels, right? These are made of the composites, right? So there are different kind of composite based on the fibers used: boron fiber, graphite fiber, titanium, aluminum, and fiberglass composites. So as per this, these are the different colorings are given. Based on that, you can identify what is the percentage of composites that we are using. So if you look at the fiberglass is having considerable strength at lower cost. So fiberglass may find application in the means wing skin, and the ribs, particularly ribs, are made for fiberglass, and span wise parts are also made of fiberglass and aluminum alloy combination. So these are the aluminum alloy, right? These are all graphite fibers, right? Graphite epoxy composites, right? These are the tip basically requires high strength, so we are going for basically titanium uh, based composites, right? Look at these stringers, right? Particularly, these are made of the aluminum alloys. Particularly, aluminum alloys are made of. Wing roots, particularly when wings are getting attached, are made of graphite epoxy, right? Composites, by which it will be attached to the fuselage. So particularly for high strength application, we are looking for low weight material, that is called composites. Composites are being find extensive applications in the aerospace components nowadays. So if we look at this, right, these are the basically being attachment point, right? Particularly, this is made of graphite and glass fiber composite, particularly outer skin. All right, this has been broken from here, and this is the joint by which are going to attach with the fuselage, made of titanium, right? Titanium, and outer skin is fiberglass. This is a spar, right, which is going throughout the length of the wing. So this has been taken from basically from helicopter rotor system, Sal kind new composite helicopter rotor concept. So if we look at our SARS aircraft, right, developed by the NAL, right, it is in that also majority of the components are made of composites, right, composites. So if you look at this radome, particularly front of the cockpit, right, this radome is made of the composites, right. Composites, wings are also in wings also subcomponents of wings are made of the composites. Vertical tail or horizontal tails, right, particularly this portion also made of carbon fiber composites. So look at the example of currently developed LCA Tejas, right. India is saying that almost 90% of these components of LCA Tejas are made of the composites. So what are the different combination of composites? If you look at this coloring, this is the glass fiber composites, aluminum alloy, Kevlar fiber composites, carbon fiber composites. Most of the outer design of the LCA Tejas wings or fuselage or up to the nose, this complete area is made of the carbon fiber composites because they are having very high strength. Only at the edges of this delta wing, particularly, you look at this were made of aluminum alloy, and the back cone, particularly for the aircraft engine, is made of aluminum alloy. A vertical tile, here glass fiber composites been used, and the nodes which will be subjected to more stress, right, particularly when it's flying, is made of Kevlar fiber composites. Kevlar is having high strength compared to the carbon fiber composites. If you look at the plastic, particularly plain plastic materials are having specific gravities of approximately unity, but they are having higher weight compared to wood, right? But comparable strength. So, on the other hand, specific gravity are less than those of aluminum and other alloys. So, they find application particularly for load carrying components, particularly windows, electrical insulators, energy absorbing shielding for dedicated instrumentation, and even structures where severe vibrations, particularly rockets, space shuttles, and launch vehicles, we use the plastics, right? So ceramics, let's come to the ceramics. Ceramics are known to having high temperature resistance. So space shuttle uses thermal insulation with a material called Li 900, manufactured by Lockheed as a ceramic tile, are glued onto the shuttle made from 99.9% pure silica glass fibers. So this is a special purpose tile. It is a reusable tile, right? Used for thermal shading. It is having uh, it is having very high thermal conductivity, right? While providing maximum thermal shock resistance to the point that it can be heated up to 2200 degree Fahrenheit and immediately plunged into cold water without damage. So if you quench it, right, there will be no damage on the surface of the ceramics. This light ceramics with a density of 9 pounds per cubic foot allows the shuttle to survive re-entry into the Earth atmosphere at Mach 25. So for thermal protection system, particularly ceramics are getting are finding the applications, right. But nowadays people are started talking about the functionally graded materials, but still it is not yet come to the laboratory scale, right. It is under the research and development, but in coming future after 100 years, right, ceramics will be replaced by the functionally graded materials, right, because functionally graded materials are made of the ceramics, and second component is copper. So with this, I am closing the today's discussion. This is regarding the aerospace materials, right? So till now, basically we have covered particularly the criteria to select the materials, as well as we have seen the types of materials, right? Metallic and non-metallics, and their applications also. Briefly, we have gone through. So here I am closing the discussion. If you are having any doubt in this, please feel free to write in the comment section, or you can directly send me a message. Alright, in next class, what we are going to cover, we will see the detailed applications of these materials in the aircraft applications, right, and aerospace application. We'll see where and which place we can use which kind of material that we are going to cover in the next lecture. So with this, I am closing the today discussion. See you all in the next class. Have a nice day. Good day.